everybody. I am so excited to bring to you one of my friends. She's got an awesome organization, and I'm going to just interview her so that you can get to know a little bit about her, and maybe she could even help you at some point. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris Castro, and I own Shift Inc. And as you can see from the Zoom background, my website is there. I help Christian women really get to a place as to where they get results, relief, and restoration. And my favorite thing to do is to align everything in their lives with Jesus so that they get every blessing and everything that he wants to give them. But enough about me. We're going to move on to Nancy Batterman. So let me take a minute and introduce her. So Nancy Batterman is a role model of leadership, kindness, and love who shows her value in all she does by honoring God and being a minister for Christ. Using her 30 plus years of nonprofit leadership experience, Nancy supports Christian women business owners and nonprofit CEOs and executive directors to solve their greatest challenges and reach their greatest potential and success. Through her executive coaching services for both business and nonprofit companies, Nancy supports organizations to become focused, disciplined, and aligned to take their company to the next level. All right, Nancy, so excited to be here.
So good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're passionate about?
Sure, absolutely. So I am really passionate about nonprofits. Yeah, they have such a great impact in the community. I think the pandemic really demonstrated the power and the need for nonprofits. So, and as you said in your intro, I spent 34 years working at the same nonprofit and was excited to be able to grow that organization from serving 200 adults with developmental disabilities to 1,200. So really passionate about nonprofits. And I've kind of taken a pivot with my career and am now doing executive coaching, primarily to work with women CEOs and certainly Christian women CEOs, and to help them have impact in their communities with the nonprofits. So many of the women are executive directors and CEOs of nonprofits. So that's really my sweet spot. And it allows me to take all of my experience and knowledge and all the things I learned and share that with other nonprofit women CEOs to help them be as successful as possible. So, and I understand growing an organization and can share that. And I really like challenging problems. So it's a great mix for me to be able to share and help nonprofits to grow their impact.
Well, I have to say, the number that you said at the beginning of that in terms of the growth is pretty impressive. So that's awesome.
Thanks.
So what sets you apart from other executive coaches? Because I'm a coach, I can executive coach, I can do lots of things, and so can some other people. But I know we all come to the table uniquely. So what makes you different?
So I'd say the first thing is that, you know, my experience, certainly I'm working with nonprofits and CEOs. And so I've been there, done that. I know the struggles and I know how sometimes how hard it can be and the demands of working in a nonprofit. And so I like to, want to be able to share that and support women executive directors, finding that balance between work and family. And then the demands of a nonprofit. So I really get that and can really share that. The other thing is I looked my entire career for an effective strategic planning process. And of course, I found it at the end, right? So it's a one-page strategic plan. And I don't know how much you know about strategic planning in nonprofits, but most nonprofits do these long, laborious 30, 40-page strategic plans, and then they sit on the shelf and collect dust. And that's exactly what happened in my organization. And this one-page strategic plan is just fabulous. It's short in that you can look at it, see it, but most importantly, you can operationalize it, put it to work in your organization so the nonprofit is actually looking at their strategic plan at least on a monthly basis, and if not more frequently than that. So it really becomes a part of the organization. So I have the opportunity now to share that best practice that I used in my own organization with other nonprofits. So, and I also understand the financial stresses of nonprofits and understand how important money is and how careful nonprofits want to be and use their dollars wisely. So I really work to find a reasonable cost and really work with an organization to individualize what I do with them, but also to make sure that it's cost effective and they see the real value in it. So, and then I provide a range of services. So one-to-one executive coaching, particularly for smaller organizations or organizations that want to go to the next level, take their organization to the next level. But I also work with larger organizations and the senior leadership team and help them through the strategic planning process. But we do monthly meetings and education and learning and developing strong leaders within the organization. So I do a variety of things, but I think it's because my focus is so much on nonprofits, which is really in itself unusual. I'm part of a coaching certification group, and there are only out of 80 executive coaches, only 2 of us work full-time serving nonprofits. So that's a little bit different as well.
I would have to say that the multi 40-page strategic plan on a shelf is more true than not, probably.
Yes, it really, which is sad, you know, and it's not only you put this huge document together, but all the time, focus groups and meeting, you know, and board members involved in all of this. And it's just crazy. So it's been exciting to find something where the organization really benefits and continues to use it. So we do quarterly, we actually set up annual initiatives and quarterly priorities. And then those priorities change every quarter to help you accomplish those annual initiatives. And it makes a lot of sense. And it really puts the strategic plan to work in the organization.
And that's a great segue, because I know that you wanted to chat a little bit about some sort of offer to anybody that's listening.
Yes. So one of the things that I offer to all nonprofits and also do as part of my strategic planning process is called an organizational health assessment. And this is an opportunity for the nonprofit organization to be able to benchmark their organization against nonprofit best practices. And that assessment is in 10 different areas. So an organizational information, so governance, their board of directors, leadership and strategy is an area that a lot of nonprofits don't really even talk about. Promotion and marketing, development and or fundraising, delivery of services, constituent relations, people, systems, and financial. So a really comprehensive review of the nonprofit, and it's completed by 10 people within the organization, and it's really up to the executive director who she wants to take that assessment. So it can be board members, obviously the CEO, executive director, larger organizations, the leadership team may take it. It's really up to the executive director, but it only takes about 20 minutes to complete. I gather all of the information, and then I actually sit down with the CEO and review it and really look at the areas where the organization is doing really well, because we want to celebrate our successes. That's really important in nonprofits because there's so much work to be done. So you celebrate, first we do is look at those areas and celebrate the successes. And then we kind of look at those middle areas where it's cautionary, where there are things that they might need to address in the future. It shows some potential weaknesses. And then the third area is those areas where work needs to be done. And then we specifically talk about those and what can be done and the reasoning for that. But it really gives the executive director an overall view of what the organization, where the organization is from the perspective of the board or key leadership. So, and then strategic planning is a part of my engagement with them. We really use that document to help set the annual initiatives. But I offer it to nonprofits just as a great way to give them information about their organization.
So it sounds like it's free and no obligation, and an opportunity to serve them and an opportunity for them to get to know you.
Exactly. Yes. So they, and I get to learn. I'm just so fascinated. I worked in the developmental disability arena for the entire career, actually with one organization. So this executive coaching and doing this assessment has allowed me to learn so much about so many different kinds of nonprofit organizations. And because I'm passionate about nonprofits, it gives me a really good opportunity to learn more about the variety and how organizations are run, because there's so many differences as well as similarities. So yeah, so there's no obligation. It's just great information for the organization, and I get to learn more about another nonprofit.
Well, great. Well, I know you said at the end there was something you wanted to mention before we wrapped up. What is it?
So I've had an interesting experience over the last 8 to 10 months. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and fortunately, my breast cancer was found through a mammogram, and it really reminded me that annual mammogram screening is so important. And then the other lesson that I really learned is that the average or median age of a woman with breast cancer diagnosis is 62, which just kind of blew me away, right? We think, and we hear a lot of younger women in their 30s and 40s with a diagnosis of breast cancer. And what I realized in talking with doctors is that because the reason there's so much attention there is because younger women, usually their cases are much more severe. And so obviously that gets talked about. But the reality of this situation is that the incident rate increases as we get older. So it's really important as women get older. I think we all hope, we're going to get to an age where we don't need to have a mammogram, right? That's what we're all hoping for. But in fact, that's not the case. And as you get older, it's even more important. 80% of women diagnosed with cancer are 45 or older. And it probably the most compelling statistic for me is at age 50, 1 in every 42 people women are diagnosed with breast cancer. At 60, it's 1 in 28. So a significant increase in the frequency. So it's really important for women to do that mammogram because in my situation, it was non-invasive and pretty small areas. And so the outcomes are way better the earlier you get it. It's interesting, even women, the incident rate for women in their 70s is 1 in 24. So the other message is we're going to probably have to have mammograms pretty close to all of our lives, which I don't think most women realize. So I've just really become an advocate for mammograms and just kind of spreading the word based upon my misconceptions about the diagnosis of breast cancer and don't want women to have to, struggle or be surprised. So a valuable lesson. And God has walked through the journey with me every step of the way, has brought beautiful people and resources into my life. So it's been a journey, and it's really become part of my testimony about how God has been with me throughout my career and now through this breast cancer journey. So I just important to share that with others.
Well, thank you. And for those of you that are listening, what you get when you meet Nancy is authenticity. And she's really great about bringing that to the table. So I hope that if you're a nonprofit, that you'll give her a call or get a hold of her. So Nancy, why don't you provide your contact information, and then we'll wrap up. And I appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure to talk with you and to share all this great information. So probably the best way to reach me is with my email address. Nancy@resultsimprove.com is really the best way to be able to reach me.
All right. Well, great. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions, give Nancy a call and or send her an email. And it's going to be well worth your time. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Wonderful. Thanks, Chris.